So thanks for joining the GLEAM NSR webinar. This is part of a longer series that I will tell you more about in a moment. As you know, we're going to focus on construction logistics today. We have different perspectives, and I will let every speaker introduce themselves and also the perspective that they're bringing today. But basically, it's a nice mix of public authority, research, and also industry. So it looks quite exciting for the next 58 minutes that we've got. You are probably either part of GLEAM NSR or have participated in some of our previous webinars and meetings, so I won't tell you too much about the project. What I wanted to share with you is that we do have other webinars coming up. So if you're interested in any of the topics that we will be talking about, please make sure to keep an eye on our social media and our website. And we will also send some of the invites via email. You will have to register because that helps us with reporting and also keep an eye on what is more popular and what are the topics that we should be talking about more often. Also, if you're part of a public authority and you're not part of our external alliance, we would really like to talk to you, so please let us know. I will stop sharing my screen now and allow you, Roos, to do it. And if there are any questions or comments, please put them first in the chat, and then we will have time for questions and answers, most probably at the end of the 4 presentations that we have today.
Okay. Thanks everyone for being here. Esmée and I, we will be talking about construction logistics in the city of Mechelen. You're seeing not the presentation mode right now, are you?
I think it's slightly bigger than the screen, so it might not be presentation mode.
Let's see. This should be it, right?
Now it is, yes.
Perfect. Okay. Let me first tell you a little bit about Mechelen. It's a medium-sized city in Belgium. We have around 90,000 inhabitants. As you can see, we are situated in the middle of
Roos,
Flanders.
we don't see Roos, we don't see the next slide. We see the first page still.
Oh, you do? That's strange. Because I see the slides that I'm
Maybe
talking
try
about.
sharing it again.
Mm-hmm. Do you see it changing now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So as you can see, we are situated in the middle of Flanders, the Dutch-speaking part.
We don't see the presentation mode. We're also sorry. We see the
really?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. That's sorry for this. Let me stop sharing and start over again.
Should I share the screen?
That's also fine. In any case, we are on the major urban and industrial axis between Brussels and Antwerp. And as you can see, also well connected to other cities, not only within Belgium, but around Europe, which makes Mechelen quite an interesting city to live and work in and to visit, which is nice, but it also comes with challenges. Because as you see, we want to be a livable, sustainable, safe, accessible city, but it's not always easy to find the right balance because at the same time, we also want to have new buildings. We want people to be able to have a drink on our main square. We want people to be able to do shopping. So a lot of goods need to be supplied as well. Yes, Esmée. So that's why in Mechelen we focus quite a lot on sustainable urban logistics. And we have as a city a goal to have zero emission logistics in our city center by 2030. And we have a main focus so far on e-commerce and the delivery of restaurants. Through European projects, we try to make these logistic streams more sustainable. And we do so by trying to avoid the kilometers, as you can see, shift those kilometers that cannot be avoided to more sustainable modes of transport. Ideally, shift them to zero emission vehicles. And we want to stay connected with all stakeholders that are involved in this process.
However,
when we look,
well, we noticed, however, in the data that a lot of logistics entering our city could be attributed to construction logistics. So, as you can see on the pie chart or the pie chart on the right, about 40% of all kilometers traveled in our inner city can be linked to construction logistics. So as Roos said, we've done a lot of pilots focused on e-commerce and deliveries in the inner city. However, within construction logistics, we did not have a lot of context, and that's why we are focusing on it. Because it's a large portion of logistics in our inner city, we also, of course, see the impacts of construction logistics. Again, a few data. We see a lot of trips can be attributed to construction, and as a result, also a large part of the emissions in our inner city are linked to construction. It has an impact on livability, accessibility, congestion, traffic safety, air quality, and noise pollution, among others. When we look at some examples in Mechelen, just some photos that we took, you can see that often construction materials are stored on the public domain, which of course is not often or sometimes is not a big problem. It's of course a bit of a messier look to our city. But as you can see, the example in the middle, you see goods and a van as well stored on the sidewalk. Of course, if you don't have any problems moving around, that's maybe just a bit of nuisance. But you can imagine someone in a wheelchair or someone with a stroller has to go out of their way to avoid those materials. Also with loading and unloading, we see that it causes some obstructions. You can see the same road here again. It's one of the main roads going into our city, which can be quite busy and is quite small as well. We have a very historical medieval city center. And you can see in both instances that the cyclist and the pedestrian has to move in favor of the deliveries being made in the traffic, which is, of course, these goods have to be delivered, but we feel like there has to be another way to make it also more safe for pedestrians and cyclists. However, the construction sector is, of course, essential to a city. In our spatial policy plan, we have written that we want to facilitate a strong growth in urban housing supply. So as Roos said, we have about 90,000 inhabitants right now, but we consider a future with 120,000 inhabitants a possibility. And that means, of course, that we have to have additional housing, but also additional facilities like shops, sporting centers, supermarkets. And of course, we also want to increase the renovation rate of buildings within our city, so renovation acceleration. And all this means, of course, also more construction logistics in our city. But the question, of course, remains: how do we keep this balance between this construction logistics that has to happen, and of course, a livable, sustainable, safe, and accessible city for all?
And thanks to 2 European projects, we are able to try to find a solution. There is Unchain and there is GLEAM. And they both help us as a city to investigate the construction logistics reality. Who are the companies in the construction business? What do they do? What do they need? Where do they come from? How do they enter the city? Within Unchain, we launched a survey and we held 2 workshops with local contractors, interest groups, construction retailers. And what we found out was that these companies are currently focusing mostly on more sustainable passenger transport. So for their employees, but that they still need to make significant steps to make the construction transport itself and the construction machinery more sustainable. They mentioned high costs, a lack of space as main bottlenecks currently. Through Unchain, we are able to collect data on loading and unloading times and amount of deliveries at a construction site. And thanks to Unchain, we have also been able to make a study on how to give permits or not give permits to long and heavy vehicles that want to enter the city center. And we want to find out how we can tender for our own construction sites within the city. And as for GLEAM, we are able to set up city dialogues with SMEs. So where Unchain is focusing more on the large construction companies, GLEAM is for SMEs in the construction reality. And we have set up 2 city dialogues so far. And we have, as a city, direct contact with a very diverse group. And we hear the same needs as the bigger companies, but on a much smaller scale. And it's really interesting to see, because what we think as a city that's needed for the SMEs is not what they actually need. So it's sometimes quite enlightening to really talk to them. It's so basic, but it seems so valuable now. So to conclude, the main takeaways, both for Unchain and GLEAM, we had, and now we have a little more knowledge about construction reality, but we didn't have any knowledge about it. Thanks to European funding, we now have capacity to better understand what's going on. We had stakeholder meetings, as mentioned, and city dialogues, and change is difficult for both SMEs and bigger companies. And what we are able to do as a city is ask, what can we do for you? And 3 things come out of it: limit the administrative burden to enter the city, make it technically feasible, and better support and unburden all the companies. So 2 different groups, but same remarks, although a different capacity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roos and Esmée. We will have time for questions and answers at the end of the session. But if anyone has a burning one, please raise your hand and we can take it. Otherwise, the chat is open, so you can already anticipate them there. And I see Jos, so yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Roos and Esmée, for an interesting presentation. I was wondering, you presented quite an ambitious growth target for the number of inhabitants, and also, of course, then for the number of homes to be constructed. So I guess, now let me ask you, do you foresee that there will be major projects carried out simultaneously so that the environmental burden will be cumulative?
I'll maybe answer this one. I should say it's not because our policymakers are quite adamant about it. It's not a goal or a target. It's something that we want to be ready for. I think within Belgium, the housing shortage is less severe, as I should say, or than in the Netherlands. But we do have some bigger projects that are in the plans, or there are plans for bigger projects. But as I say, we are now just starting to look at construction logistics. There's more a view about it with to have less nuisance, so the minder hinder in Dutch, but not really on sustainability. So we do have, I think, from that view, an overview about it, but not really looking at how can we combine transport, how can we make it more sustainable, just how can we make it more safe and not create a large impact on the existing transport flows. I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but it's something that I think is something we should look more into and have a bit more an overview of. So, good question.
Thank you both. Okay, we can go forward. So Nicolas, please go ahead.
Thank you, Lorena. Let me share my screen. Here we go. I'm Nicolas Brusselaers. I'm a senior researcher at the Vrije Universiteit Brussel, and I bring the angle of city planning or planning. Transport planning. So this is typically a picture that you see that cities, how cities envision the future state of their city. A lot of beautiful pictures and sexy pictures about new buildings or large urban redevelopment projects. However, during the works, construction logistics is inevitable, and that's then the less sexy picture that you typically see, which has an impact not only at the site itself, but on multiple layers around the site and the city as a whole, leading to vast amounts of disturbances, congestion, air pollution, and so on. And like you also already mentioned, that problem is further amplified the more simultaneous projects are running in a city. And so cities typically they focus on the current problems and the future state that they want to achieve, but in this transition phase we still have a term that we coined then a planning gap. How do we reach that future state? And so I organized this presentation around three pillars leading to that planning gap or between that planning gap, namely construction transport planning, traffic planning, and urban development planning. As without a profound understanding of how to solve this planning gap, it seems next to impossible to reach the targets set by 2030. So let's open together the three surprises or the three data sets that we used to our research in the last few years, starting with the one on construction transport planning. So we got our hands on the onboard unit data set. It's, I believe in Belgium, units or GPS trackers that were implemented in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, for taxation reasons, for the kilometer charge. And that is a tremendous data set, collecting a lot of calculation variables on the vehicle type, the Euro norm, and so on, and a location every 30 seconds for every truck that is driving in or through the country of Belgium. And so with a bit of algorithmic development, we can see where each truck is driving in the entire country of Belgium and then translate that to a sustainability assessment. especially with regards to the transport sector. And here we did the analysis then for the city of Brussels, and we saw that in fact over a quarter of all the trucks, all the vehicles over 3.5 tons that are driving in or through the city are related to construction, carrying a massive burden, a massive impact. We are speaking here about 45,000 euro of daily external costs or monthly over 1 million. And it's still a sector that is heavily reliant on heavy truck trailers, so in the segment of 34 to 50 ton. We can pull this analysis also on the national level, and we see similar results. 1.5 million of external costs daily engendered by the construction transport sector. So that is a bit what we know. Now, if we combine it then with something else, with urban development planning data sets, it's a data set that we also have since it's a few years. We collected more than 200,000 construction and renovation site records in the city of Brussels. And then we created a proxy on neighborhood level for construction material demand, which we then used to calculate optimal strategic buffer zones or logistics facilities to optimize then the transport flows in and through the city. So what that led to is then a location analysis for those logistics facilities for one construction consolidation center or 2 or 3 or 4. So strategic buffer zones where material demand will be the highest and in which it would be smart to then position such a consolidation center. And by the way, you see here that the white dot is the first construction consolidation center implemented by Mark a few years ago now. And so that is very close to the optimal point that we also reached in our analysis. Something that can also drive certain industry and policy decisions to make. Now, regarding that, because we are of course talking about historic data, it would be also nice to have a glimpse, to have an idea of future demand, which currently still is quite complex because of the variables that influence that transport demand and construction demand. And that's where then this traffic planning comes in. So traffic planning involves personal mobility, and that personal mobility you can capture thanks to mobile service provider data, telecom data. Everyone is carrying a phone, and everyone is tracked, be it in an anonymous way. But we know at a certain point how many people are connected to a certain cell tower at a certain location and a certain time. And so if we map all those dynamic receptor densities in time and in space, and we overlay it with a dynamic transport model with dispersed pollutants, we can also know what is the impact of construction transport on gender-specific and age-specific people. So how can we then reroute existing or needed inevitable construction transport around air pollution hotspots to avoid elderly people, young children, for example, and so forth. And for that, we use then the data sets that I showed you before, the mobile service provider data or these onboard unit data tracking all the construction-related trucks. And there were many results out of that study, but a logical one is that if you reroute certain trucks around these dense hotspots, you drive more vehicle kilometers, and so you have a higher absolute emission of 5%. However, you drive in a time and in a space where there are little receptors present, and so you can significantly lower the actual inflicted health costs. Of course, this stays a theoretical analysis, but it shows that different is also possible. So what lies then ahead? If we take all these data points and all these analysis, it's actually a smart governance concept that we developed as part of a European project a few years ago, is that we can then drive certain policy recommendations on multiple levels, on the strategic level for a city, but also on an operational level. And so that is also something that was used in the framework of Révolution, the renovation wave in Brussels, where that framework was then translated to the Brussels context. What else lies ahead? And that is more of the recent work that we've been doing in Belgium and in Sweden, is interactive visualizations. Here we were targeting especially industry players, saying, okay, when is the best time to deliver certain materials and when should you avoid, for example, the highest congestion levels in a city? But it can also inform cities. We can then go from a 2D model to a 3D model, and then ultimately, and that is what we are currently doing, is moving closer towards a digital twin system or a digital twin. So what you're seeing here on the video is actually not actual footage. It's the city of Norrköping that has been entirely recreated in a digital environment. So this is all rendered. The city of Norrköping is roughly the same size as the city of Mechelen, to give you an idea. And here they are going to build a brand new train station as part of the Oostlänken project, so a new railway between Stockholm and Göteborg. And so that gives rise then to simulate what is the traffic impact of the construction transports that need to go to and from that infrastructure project on the rest of the city. And later, when the project is developed, what are then the benefits in terms of mobility and transport flows? So in a nutshell, an overview of certain data that can drive certain policy decisions. Our research group is focusing on a few pillars, but the overarching one is then on zero impact construction logistics planning. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them, or you, feel free to send me an email.
Really nice. Thank you so much. I see we already have a question from Michael. He's interested in knowing how you differentiate between vehicles used for construction transport and other types of vehicles.
Yeah, it's a good question. So for this, we developed the easy answer is that we developed two algorithms to filter the construction transport from the rest of the data set. So that's this one, based on the location of the construction sites themselves. So we leveraged, in fact, the specific or the unique nature of the construction supply chain that brings a lot of materials and is a generator of a lot of transport that is a very specific point in space and in time. And we leverage those characteristics to determine then which ones are related to construction sites or are coming to and from a construction site, and which one are totally not in relation to large construction projects in the city.
Thank you.
So space and timestamps mostly.
Okay. Michael, if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to intervene.
Thank you. It was comprehensive and very impressive approach, I have to say. Thank you.
Indeed. I was also wondering if the visualization tool is available online.
The visualization currently not. I think that so especially in the latter, so the full representation of the city of Norrköping, that is something that I can put you in contact with. It's a visualization center in Norrköping. And they would be more than happy to show you or to guide you through the possibilities of that, but it's not an that tool.
Fair enough. Thank you. We will anyway make available these presentations, so some of the links and the references I see are already there. If there's anything else that you would like to put in the chat, please do so. Thank you, Nicolas. We can go forward to Sam's presentation. And in the meantime, if any other questions, comments come up, please put them in the chat and we'll pick them up.
Second. Is my screen visible now? All right, good.
Perfect.
All right, I was invited to present to you something about decarbonized last mile construction logistics. My name is Sam van Hooff. I work as a sustainability manager at Dura Vermeer. Dura Vermeer is one of the 5 largest contractors in the Netherlands. We do various activities. I work in the renovation and transformation branch. And I was asked to tell you something about a project we've done regarding smart logistics and electric transportation. So this is our case study. It's called the Witte Anna, the White Anna. It's a large residential tower, and we renovated almost 170 social housing units situated in the city center of The Hague, right next to the train station. And we renovated kitchen, toilets, bathrooms. We've cleaned up the facade and the new windows and window frames. And we had a couple of challenges regarding this project and this location. First of all, a high density urban location, so it was difficult to reach. And even then, it also had a very small construction site that I'll show you later. So to tackle this project, we used our construction hub. It's a terrain. It's located about 55 kilometers from the construction location, and we call it the Urban Miner. It is a construction and circularity logistics hub, and we have 3 basic activities here. One is logistics, so it's storage and shipping of building materials. There's also harbor access, so we can ship materials via the water. There's recycling activities of asphalt and concrete, and there are circularity activities. So it's a storage space and an upcycling space for used building materials so that they can have a second life. And there's a sawmill so that we can adapt these materials a bit. And basically what we did, I'm first going to tell you a bit about how we would normally tackle this project. So this is the building site. As you see, it's very, very small. And normally at a construction site like this, we would have about 25 or more subcontractors, and each of the subcontractors has their own building materials, their own personnel, and a company-specific planning, space occupancy, safety measures. So it's quite complex to deal with all these different actors, as you can imagine. So in that situation, we would have about 8 large diesel trucks per week coming in from various companies with different building materials, and then also various smaller vans with personnel. It's quite difficult in planning because, say, for example, some goods are delivered late and the entire planning shifts for a week. You have to call 25 companies and tell them to be a bit later. And also there's very little capacity, as you see, for the storage of building materials, as Roos and Esmée showed earlier. That's basically impossible here. And also waste collection is quite difficult. So those were our challenges. And how we solved that is we used the hub as a buffer location, which Nicolas just spoke about. So all our contractors stored and supplied their materials here. So instead of doing various small deliveries throughout the project, they did one big delivery at the start of the project. And then at the hub, we made day packages and week packages. We did quality control. So sometimes, windows break during transportation, and we were often able to resupply the windows before they had to go to the construction site. And everything was just in time and just what you need. So that worked quite well. That resulted in only one electric truck per day and one diesel truck every 2 weeks, because sometimes we still needed a larger truck with a bigger capacity. I'll return to that later. I can't see if there's questions, so I assume that Lorena will tell me. The construction waste was also gathered here. So on the return trip from the hub, they would pick up the construction waste. And of course, there was a lot less nuisance and a lot less emissions in the neighborhood because it was just one truck a day, and it was electric. So that worked really well for us, and our building site colleagues were very happy with it because they were very much in control. They really could take ownership of these logistics. So we had a software solution for planning deliveries and returns. So we could plan when the truck had to arrive, what exactly was in it. And for example, if the planning shifted 1 or 2 weeks, we could easily change that. And that is not usually the case in a construction project. So we were very thrilled about this this way of working. It comes with a couple of challenges though, so I'll be talking you through those. Of course, charging facilities for the electric truck, we have them at the hub, but they also need to be sometimes present at the construction site, because sometimes the truck doesn't have the capacity to go back and forth. So that was a challenge. And the thing with this kind of logistics hub, it sounds really efficient, but it's not always the case actually, because what you're doing is you're touching everything twice. And well, if you touch something twice, you also have to pay for it twice. So that's quite complex actually. Another challenge was the capacity of the electric truck. So as you can see here, it's a big truck, but it's not huge. So not everything could fit on it. And also the crane that's attached to it has a certain limited capacity. So we could not use it in every case. And while we really like this approach, we are not always able to copy this to other projects, because what we see, there are a lot of extra costs without directly quantifiable returns. I really like what Nicolas spoke about health costs. It would be really nice to be able to quantify that somehow, because we are paying for the hub and we are paying for the transport. But that money has to come from somewhere, and our clients, so the Social Housing Corporation, they don't actually receive anything for that in return. You know, there's less nuisance in the neighborhood, and we have a more efficient way of working, and we are a lot more quiet, and these kinds of things. But you know, the quality of the renovation doesn't go up. So at most projects, we try to sell this option to our clients, but not very often they choose for it. It's not very often that they choose for it because, you know, they don't really get to see a return on that investment, and we do, but it's not financially. So that's quite difficult to allocate these costs. Let's see. So we are developing this business model further and further. And what we are really seeing is that our subcontractors are also not used to this. So, for example, when somebody comes to install the tiles in the bathroom, they normally, as you saw in the picture before that Roos and Esmée showed, they bring all the tiles to the construction site and then just take what they need every day. And we had them delivered one time on the hub, and then was repacked in day and week packages, and then it was brought to the hub. So actually it was more expensive to do this, although it looks really efficient, but it was more expensive to do these kinds of things. And we are not really able to allocate these costs yet anywhere, even though there are substantial benefits for the environment and for the people around this building site. But this is our challenge, what we're dealing with. So yeah, my questions to you are: how can we work together to, make the numbers that Nicolas just presented somehow come back to these costs, and how can municipalities contribute to these issues? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. That's indeed a very good question, and I think I've also put it in the chat if it's something that procurement policies could include. We have a few attendees that work for public authorities. I don't know if any of you would like to respond to the question, or if you have an answer. I was tagging Jos because we've been chatting about procurement for quite some time, but anyone else is welcome to respond. And I see Mark also with his hand up. So go ahead, Mark, and then Jos.
Hi, Sam. We are not a construction company, but we are doing logistics for construction companies. And I don't know whether that's possible. And we're just doing this in Brussels, so that's with all restraints that we have there. But at this moment, you use public roads or public place, you have to pay in Brussels. So something like €2 per square meter per day. So that's a lot of money. So we can recuperate part of the investment with that normally the construction companies pays for taking in the public domain. And then I will come back to it in our presentation as well. But we were able to convince our subcontractors, or the subcontractors of the construction companies, your subcontractors, to contribute to the model because it's to their benefit. It's a subcontractor has, when he can work more efficiently, he can finish earlier, he can do more work during or real work during his presence on the construction site, because when you have to look for your tiles everywhere, and then you can start working 2 hours after you've started on the construction site, you can put your tiles or start putting your tiles. That's time lost. But when you can find them back easily, when they are in the right apartment, on the right place, on the right moment, this saves money. And when you save money, it becomes more efficient. It saves money, so they contribute what they save, or part of what they save until now, to the model, which makes it just or just not interesting for them to contribute. So it's in total, I think the model, of course, it's different for every city. Yeah? I don't know how badly you are charged for taking in public domain in Rotterdam, but I think it's almost nothing. So that's an advantage we have. Plus that the subcontractors have a large efficiency advantage. Huh?
That's interesting to hear. Yeah, there's indeed some kind of fines, hiring of the public place that you.
I think we should talk. Take the time to talk a few hours about how models are working in Rotterdam, because we can learn quite a lot from you, and I think maybe you can learn something from us as well. So it's
absolutely, that'd be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. This is the best outcome we can get out of a webinar, I guess. Jos, please go ahead. You are muted. Jos, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I already put my answer in the chat. I think one way to look at it could be that this solution which Sam presented is very space efficient, which is quite important in very dense urban areas. And then if it still doesn't seem to work, the system, then one way to perhaps get a grip on it could be to do something with this scarce space. Since we, as a public authority, maintain this space, and we're also able to manage it. In fact, it's something we already try to do, of course, in planning urban development projects. Probably the same goes on in The Hague. But then we know from other construction hub initiatives that it's very hard to manage all subcontractors. So that's it's a challenge. But I think this is probably the main thing that public authorities could do, because our own projects are quite limited. The housing companies you're talking about, they are more or less independent bodies. Of course, they serve a social purpose, and to some extent they have financial means. But on the other hand, they want to spend those means also for the quality of what they provide, and not necessarily for the maintenance or the renovation. But
exactly, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll be happy to organize a follow-up for this meeting. So maybe for now we can go on with Mark's presentation, and we should still have a few minutes towards the end for another round of questions and answers. Mark, we cannot hear you because you're muted.
I'm already unmuted, but you don't see my presentation, I suppose.
We see your presentation, just not in full screen.
And now it's full screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, I took over your title, so that's good, eh? And for those who have already seen my slides, and I think that's Esmée, I'm sorry, but it's a bit the same as last time, but don't worry. So we have cities, we have the choice not to become a hellhole, and that's how this person once described Brussels. So that's why I used it for Brussels as well. And we have the choice not to become a place where the people piss in the street, where trucks and cars have taken over. And there's a financial angle on what we are trying to do, of course. And in Belgium, we make studies about what congestion costs. And I think it was been mentioned before, but our total cost of congestion in 2025 was 5 billion euro. And 5 billion euro, that's a lot of money. And you see when you look at the cost breakdown, that a lot of this 5 billion comes from transport. And goods transport represent only 17% of the total traffic, but they stand for 60% of the congestion cost. And then knowing that construction-related transport stands average in Belgium for 30%, in Mechelen it was even 37%, stands for 30% of the goods transport in a city. We see that goods transport costs, logically, rule of 3 billion euro per year. And 0.9 billion or almost 0.9 billion or almost 1 billion is due to construction-related transport, which is 30%, of course. And you look at a city like Antwerp, for example, each year they spend 50 million too much on congestion costs, which is due to the inefficient construction-related transport. Just to give you an idea, 11,000 trucks daily come into Antwerp, and I lost a part of the screen here. 18,000 vans come into a city like Antwerp, and 30% of the trucks is related to construction, but 49% of the vans is related to construction. And the vans are typically the transport means for people, and we see that about every subcontractor is using his own little van to get into the city and to deliver people there, and they go back and forward to different stores to buy something instead of being mobile and using maybe a bike or doing it a little bit efficient. They use their small vans to drive around Brussels, and they're not being efficient at all. Oops, it's not working anymore. Voilà. When you look at the human angle, what we see on the construction side is that a normal person or a person in the normal industry is occupied for 80% of his time with efficient things. And efficient things, that's hours that he's paid for versus hours with that added value. So 80% of his hours are with added value. I don't make you guess how much that is for construction-related industry, but 30% of what a person is doing on a construction site is really adding value. That's not really a lot. And the rest of his time he spends on walking around. So it's a very healthy profession, I think. When you walk 8 or 10 kilometers per day, but that's not really the intention, of course. Products are handled 6 to 8 times. 6 to 8 times a product is moved before it is placed. So not a coincidence that 1 out of 2 accidents is due to handling and that people suffer from dorsal problems. So that's why we created the HelloFresh. I don't know whether you know HelloFresh in Holland, but I suppose you do. The HelloFresh for the construction logistics. And what is the HelloFresh? HelloFresh is you use exactly the food you need on the right time to produce a meal for your family. So that's what we have to do, but what we have to do in a construction site as well. So not everything needs to come in the same time at the construction site. No, we just need to bring the things that we need at the right moment, at the right place. And that's why we created the Brussels Construction Consolidation Center. And where you see on the top layer that, or on the top truck, is delivering exactly the right, when he's needed, he's delivering exactly what he has to deliver on the right moment, on the right day. That's something we are not going to change. But the rest, you see that there's different goods coming to a construction site normally, and they are put there somewhere. They are put there to stay there for a while, and after a while they disappear when they are expensive or they get damaged or whatever. But you can bring goods also with a truck towards a construction consolidation center. That's what the former speaker was doing, Sam was doing as well. And you can bring them there via boat or via truck. And I will go just a little bit further into the truck transport. We saw on a construction site in Brussels that they are bringing 4 trucks each day from out of Holland to the construction site, and those trucks were partly standard material, so produced in large quantities, low number of SKUs, and partly special material. 4 trucks a day. That means that you have about 80 trucks a month that go to this construction site, and let these 80 trucks per month just be an equivalent of 1 ship. So we could bring 75% of the volume by ship towards the construction consolidation center, which is at the water, of course, at the canal. Bring the specials also to the construction consolidation center. We reconsolidated the specials in the standard material. We digitalized the whole stream, and we brought at the right moment, at the right place, on the right crane, the right volumes that were needed for that day, or 4 times a day. For the finishing, so it's not only about construction, raw construction at first ruwbouw, but it's also about finishing, so about putting the tiles in the construction site, the doors, the parquet, the bathrooms, the kitchens, and so on. They are delivered now with 1 truck bringing something to a construction site, and that is put there somewhere. And most of the times it's a milk run done in the city, and we see that lots of trucks arrive with 1 pallet or 2 pallets on a construction site. So for the rest, they are empty. So we see only a few pallets per truck delivered somewhere around on a construction site because they don't have to use it directly. There's a lot of manual internal logistics without equipment. Unexpected deliveries, so trucks arrive at the construction site without people knowing about it, and that's why they put them just somewhere, the material somewhere, and they lose a lot of time because they have to open the truck, whether it's full or not. They have to look what's in it, and maybe it has to go to another crane to be unloaded. It's taking a lot of space on site, and deliveries are often not conformed. what we saw is trucks like this coming on a construction site, coming here, and when you see very well in the back of the truck, of both trucks, you see 2 pallets or some douche panels and a few pallets in the right truck. So what did we do? We reorganized these logistics. So everyone bringing with the blue material, let's say that's the kitchen or the toilet pots, they come to us, they come to the urban logistics hub. They deliver everything there, and at the moment that it's needed on a construction site, we will bring the showers and the parquet and the tiles or whatever. We bring them to the construction site. It is announced, it's digitalized, and everyone is expecting what we're going to deliver. So that's a full truck coming to a construction site instead of a half empty or more than half empty truck. And then you see more than well-loaded trucks. And the nice thing about it, of course, is that we are not going to deliver just at the construction site, but we are going to deliver in the apartment, on the right floor, in the right room, where the goods will be used the next day. So it's not just stored on the construction site, no, it's stored at our site, and then we bring it at the right moment, at the right place, where it has to be or will be used the day after. We did with a French company. We built together a fully integrated IT planning system, and the IT planning system or the logistics planning system is a sister program of the planning system that we have on lots of construction sites. It also connects with other planning systems or construction planning systems on the construction site, but it makes it possible to trace everything from its origin until it arrives at our hub, until it's unloaded at our hub, until it is delivered on the construction site. It's accompanied with pictures and all these kind of things, so really proof that it has been delivered in the right room on the right moment, and it has been fully delivered as well. We can use it on any project we want because it is freely adaptable. It's a plan of the construction sites is on it. We can read the plan, we can see on which site or which part of the construction site we have to deliver. So it has different zones and all these kind of things. So it's quite performant. We have for Brussels, we have one urban terminal, out of which we can serve about 70% of all the construction sites within 30 minutes. It's a waterborne terminal, which gives us, of course, the possibility to load and unload ships until 4,000 tons even. Very new is, and it has been, we have been talking about it already. We started beginning of this year, so it's in January. We started Reload as return logistics afval déchets, so it has to be bilingual here in Belgium, and we create small sorting centers on site, and that allows us to, instead of recuperating waste, we make a recuperation of raw materials. So we can, because we are sorting on very small quantities, we can keep our fractions quite pure. And pure fractions means that you have a lot more possibility to reuse material instead of recycling it, for example. So the downcycle or upcycling is a lot easier, of course, when you collect small quantities. You put them in a large container here in the construction consolidation center, and you bring them back to the producer. And what you can bring back to the producer is recycled much finer than what you can find until now. It looks like this in reality, and it was the first really a first time for Belgium that has been launched, and we were surprised about the success. It's the fractions we collect are quite clean and quite pure, and there is a lot of enthusiasm on the construction site to use these kind of things, and people. Okay, we have to train them, we have to sensibilize them quite often, but people are really motivated to contribute to a better and a cleaner construction site with this. Just to give you an idea, the part that we can recycle, or the part of really waste, unsorted waste, becomes a lot smaller. So the real waste, when we look at the business as usual, that's the brown thing, the general waste, is quite a large portion. When you do it with a collector, it's still a large portion, but what is important with reload, we can collect until almost 100% or sort until almost 100% of all the waste we collect on the construction site. And at the end, the price, and that's what you see at the left, the price when you sort well, when you upcycle material, and when you do it with a good performance, and when you do it also with trucks coming to the site and taking material back. So the trucks delivering to the site will take the waste or the reload sacks back again. We avoid a lot of kilometers in the city, of course. I will not bother you too much with this, but we design with our customers, we design what we are going to collect at their site. We can make an analysis because we can base ourselves on quite some research of different universities and also Build Twice. It's an organization in Belgium who does these studies. So we can analyze the site quite quickly, and we know quite quickly what we can expect, how we can collect it, how much fractions we have to put, or what kind of sorting center we have to put, and we can also calculate in advance quite well to an entrepreneur how much he can save by using this system. So well organized logistics on the construction leads to 50% less trucks, 50% less CO2, and 50% better quality and 50% less accidents. And that's why we do it as well. We have done already quite some projects in Brussels, not all full-blown, but a lot of infrastructural works as well, a lot of structural works. Finishing is still quite new, and reload, of course, we have one construction site which is active now, but for the rest it's as well structural as finishing. I think we are about 10 active sites at this moment for which we are delivering. We have quite some customers on which we are extremely proud, of course. And in a nutshell, we are a member of the Green Deal, of course. We won in 2023 the Trends Impact Award for most sustainable company in the mobility category. And we are quite a small company. We have 10 owned ships, group revenue about 30 million, and we are quite okay financially. We have a small team in Brussels of four people and some subcontractors, of course, with which we do quite some work. Escape. Are you still there?
Yes, we are still here. Thank you so much, Mark. This is an impressive performance for such a small team. We are running out of time, which is why I would invite everyone to send any questions via email. If you would like to discuss further with any of the speakers and with the GLEAM partners, you're more than welcome to get in touch. I will be in touch with the speakers to have your presentations. We will put them together and publish them on the website together with the recording. And hopefully we keep this conversation going because we've heard a lot of really useful perspectives from all of you. So that being said, apologies for the delay and thank you so much for being here today. We'll definitely reach out to you for the upcoming webinars. Have a good afternoon.
Bye.